Have you heard of OBA JI, known as yam ban in English? Where I come from, the OBA JI is more than just a place to hang tubers of yam. It is a statement, a testimony, a quiet, earthy way of saying, here lives a family that works hard, feeds people, and stands tall. I was born in the early 90s, and as a child, I spent many Saturday mornings following my grandmothers to the farm in the eastern part of Nigeria. My paternal grandmother's land was full of cassava and vegetable, but it was my maternal grandmother's farm that always stole my heart. Long ridges of yam called G, pushing proudly out of the red earth. Back then, I didn't fully understand it, but I could feel that yam was not just food, it was prestige, security, and sometimes the difference between respect and ridicule in the village. In Igbo culture, owning a yam ban and OBA JI was a badge of honor. When you walk into a compound and see rows and rows of yams stacked neatly, hanging or arranged in tall walls like you see in these pictures, you immediately know this person is not lazy. This person is blessed. It wasn't just wealth in terms of money. It was wealth in sweat, in patience, in resilience. Think about it. Every single yam in that bag started as a tiny seed yam planted by hand in harsh sun and stubborn soil. The farmer weeded, stacked, prayed for rain, protected the farm from thieves and animals. By the time harvest comes and those yams are carried home, washed and carefully hung in the OBA JI, each tuber carries a story of struggle and survival. In many parts of Igbo land, a man's status is measured by the size of his yam ban. A large OBA JI meant he could feed his family, host visitors, support community feasts, and even assist others during hard times. People would say, Onye Jiji Jindu, meaning the one who has yam has life. If a family wanted to marry off a daughter, or a man wanted to take a title, the yam ban would often speak for him before he says a word. The elders knew someone who can grow and store yams successfully has discipline, consistency, and planning, the same qualities you need to raise a family or to lead people. The OBA JI was also a place of quiet pride and reflection. Early in the morning, when the compound was still cool, a farmer might walk into the barn, touch a few yams, count them in his head and smile. Children would sneak in, even when they were warned not to play there, just to feel the coolness of the shade and the smell of dry earth and yam skin. Did you ever experience that? And again, did you ever follow your parents or grandparents to the farm or yam barn and just watch how seriously they handled each tuber? Let me know in the comment section. Let's continue. Beyond wealth and respect, the OBA JI represented resilience. Yam is not an easy crop. It demands patience. It doesn't grow overnight like vegetables. For months, there is nothing to show except mounds of earth and climbing vines. But the farmer keeps going back, keeps believing that something good is forming on the ground. So when those yams finally leave the farm and reach the barn, the stand has proved that hard work eventually pays off. That's why, in some communities, a man without yam and without an OBA JI was seen as someone who hasn't yet stood up in life. For women too, the OBA JI held deep meaning. While men often took the public praise for yam farming, women supported in countless ways, preparing food for farm work, helping with planting and harvest, selling some of the yams in the market, turning yam into pounded yam, porridge, or even roasted delicacies that strengthened the family. The barn, filled with yam, meant a woman didn't have to worry about what her children would eat tomorrow. It meant she could host visitors without shame. The OBA JI also tied directly into our festivals and spirituality. Think of the ABG, the New Yam Festival. You cannot talk about New Yam if there is no yam in the barn. Before the festival, yams from the OBA JI will be carefully selected, decorated, and presented as offering of gratitude to God and to the ancestors. The barn was like a sacred bank where you store the evidence of God's goodness and your own hard work. I have another question. Have you ever attended a New Year festival in the village? Can you remember the pride on the faces of farmers as they displayed their biggest tubers? Let me also know in the comment section. Economically, the yam barn was a kind of traditional savings account. Instead of keeping money in the bank, our people kept wealth in yam. You could sell some when school fees came up, when you needed to roof a house, or when there was an urgent problem. During dry season, when food was scarce, families that had a well-stocked OBA JI became a quiet lifeline for others. And socially, the OBA JI strengthened community ties. When visitors arrived, especially during festive season, yams came down from the barn, boiled yam with palm oil, roasted yam with pepper sauce, pounded yam with soup. These meals brought people together. Many of us have memories of sitting outside in the evening, sharing hot yam and talking about life under the moonlight. But today, this tradition is slowly fading. Land is shrinking. Many young people have moved to the cities. Farming is often seen as old-fashioned or for people who don't have better options. Instead of OBA JI, we see cement houses and empty backyards. Yams are brought in pieces from the market and eaten quickly. No barn, no storage, no story. How many modern Igbo homes still have real yam barn? When was the last time you saw an OBA JI like the ones in these pictures? Tall walls of yam, almost like a mansion built from food. Technology, urbanization, and white-collar jobs have the advantage. But in the process, some of our deep cultural symbols are quietly disappearing. Young people may know jollof rice and pizza more than they know the smell of fresh cut yam. Some have never seen how a yam barn is built, how the wooden scaffolding is arranged, or how the tubers are tied and stacked so they don't rot. Yet, there is something powerful we risk losing if we let OBA JI die. We lose the story of our resilience. We lose a physical symbol of hard work and delayed gratification. We lose a community-centered way of measuring wealth, not by show-off, but by the ability to feed others. So, here is my question to you watching this. Do you think the tradition of OBA JI can survive in our modern world? If you had land and resources, would you consider planting yam and maybe building even a smaller barn just to keep the story alive in your family? We may not all become farmers, but we can all play a part in preserving this piece of our identity. We can teach our children what OBA JI means. We can record our grandparents' stories about yam farming. We can support local farmers by buying directly from them. We can share images and videos of yam barns online so the world sees that this is not just village life, it is heritage. Some of us who live in cities can even create modern versions, smaller storage shed, symbolic farm displays during festivals, or community gardens where children learn how the yam is grown. In the end, OBA JI is not only about yam, it is about who we are as Igbo people, hardworking, generous, resilient. If we let this tradition die completely, we lose one more thread that connects us to our roots. That is why we need to uphold the tradition of yam barns by honoring farmers, teaching the younger generation, documenting our stories, supporting agriculture, and proudly showcasing OBA JI in our homes, our villages, and even on platforms like YouTube. Because if we do not tell this story and live it in our own small ways, who will? And what kind of culture will we pass on to those coming after us? So tell me in the comments, have you ever seen an OBA JI in real life? Did your parents or grandparents own one? And do you think we should revive this tradition in Igbo land today? Dear lovers of African tales, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more amazing African stories. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new tale. See you next time.